So guys, my name is Keegan. This is something I've been wanting to do this for a while. I want to bear my testimony. I want to talk about my testimony and how powerful it was and just share it. I've practiced this a billion times in my head, but I don't think it's going to go as well as it goes usually when I practice it in my head. But I want it to be raw. I want it to be real. Because it's made me who I am today. So, for a little background, I grew up middle class home. Parents, normal life, went to school. Well, I guess that's not true. My dad was volatile. At the time when I was younger, I didn't really know. I just thought he was a mean, bad person. I think he was an alcoholic. And I mean, he worked all the time. And when he came home, he was just angry. So I avoided him. I wanted to avoid him in every possible, because anything could set him off. I mean, absolutely anything. Something very small and simple could cascade him into doing some pretty not good stuff. And so I grew up going to church, to a Mormon church. I was forced to go every single day. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't believe in God. I sought him, but I just kind of went through the motions and did it. And that lasted for, I don't know, a few years, because my parents' relationship when they were younger was just wild. I mean, just they fought like cats and dogs, and so we stopped going to church. And then anyways, we moved to where I'm at now, and at this point in time in my life, I think I'm 11, 12 or 13, and I'm so sick of just my circumstances. I'm angry. I hate my dad. I hate my life. I'm borderline neurotic because of the things that happen. And I move in, and the neighbors 2 houses down, the dad's a pastor, and they're very, very church going, but they're Christians. And I remember the first thing I saw him, he was rollerblading, and that was something that I did. I was super into rollerblading, and I strap on my rollerblades and I go start talking to him. I was like, bro, this is awesome. We can skate together, and we start rollerblading. And then over time, they start asking me, hey, you should come to our church. You should come to our church. And my parents I tell my parents, and they're like, oh yeah, well, they were so set in their ways that they're like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, but they're like, they were glad that I had friends. I mean, they didn't say I couldn't, but they were just advising against it, and that they had different doctrine. And anyways, they go to this, they come over and they're talking to me, the brother and the friend and my group of friends, and they're all together, and they're talking to me about this big event that's coming up. It's called Acquire the Fire. And they're like, oh man, it's awesome. They started showing me these Christian rock bands, and I started getting into the Christian rock bands like Skillet and some of these other more well-known, not well-known Christian bands, and started I just wanted to be out of the house no matter what. So I was like, yeah, can I go? I talked to my parents, so I can go. They're like, oh, okay, fine, that's, you can go. So I get the funds and I go. And that event that wasn't where I had my awakening, but that event that got my curiosity. They started telling me about this God that I'd never heard of, about Jesus the merciful, not Jesus the earn your way into my kingdom. Jesus, Jesus that loves you no matter what, not Jesus who measures you based off your works. And they were telling me how awesome he was, and I started hearing about this whole new philosophy about how Jesus loved me. And I didn't really have a father figure. I hated my father figure, and that's what I wanted more than anything. And so I kept going to church with them, and I kept going, and I started going to any type of event that I could go to about church. I started going to. I started going to this fellowship church, and they had this they had youth group or something every Wednesday, or I don't remember how it went, but we'd always go, and it was praise and worship, and they just more of the same non-denominational preaching praise God. And I still hadn't had my experience yet. I still wasn't sold, you know. And then they got this group together, kind of like Choir of the Fire. It's called Amped, and they said it's gonna be, I think, 3 days, and we're gonna go and we're just gonna worship. We're gonna do a ton of worship. We've got awesome sermons packed up, and by this point in time, I'd been to a couple things like that, so my parents were just on board with it. They're like, okay. So I go, and during this time, I started. This is my junior year of high school. Yeah, my junior year of high school. Or no, 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 correction. I'm a junior high, so I'm in like grade 8 or 9, and I'm starting to like girls. I started seeing this girl, and just crazy things that come with puberty. Um, I'm probably more neurotic now than I am at any other point in my life. But we go, and I invite her, and she's going, and so I had a dream. So the very first night, I'm not going to say names. I'm just going to talk about this prophetic, my most memorable prophetic dream that I've ever had. The night that I asked this girl out to be my girlfriend, and my buddy, my best friend, was over, and his girlfriend was over, and we just watched movies in the living room, and I was so nervous, so excited. This was like, I was pretty enamored with this girl, and they said their goodbyes, and they left, and we hung out. We talked about it. We were psyched. I went to bed, and that night I had a dream, and I had a dream that this girl was being used by the enemy. She was going to break my heart, and it wasn't just going to break my heart; it was going to destroy me. And I predicted. I knew the people in this dream. I saw she ended up sleeping with these guys, and there was a number of guys, and I knew the exact number. I knew who they were. I dreamt of what happened afterwards, the drama that followed, and but the biggest thing about that dream I remember was my emotional state. It was I was I was destroyed, heartbroken, mad, and I woke up that morning, and I'm just got tears all down my face. I'm still crying. My buddy, my best friend, gets up, and he's like, "Bro, what's going on?" He's like, "Dude, are you okay?" My eyes are all bloodshot, and I was like, "Bro, I don't know. I just had the weirdest dream." I told him the dream, and so fast forward back to this event, and this has been kind of how it's been going. I decided to ignore the dream, ignore the red flags, and it ended up coming to bite me in the butt. So, literally, sorry, literally the week before, 2 weeks before, I don't remember the exact dates, that had all come to pass, and we were. I didn't want to necessarily. I don't know. I was young and dumb. I didn't want to break up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know my worth. She was definitely going through some things. But, anyways, I invited her to this church group and she went. And this is where I found my awakening, though. I had my awakening. So, I remember we're on the third night of worship, the last night, and it was just, if I remember right, 3 hours of just straight worship music, just praising God. And there's a couple of songs that they're playing, and it's like these very, I don't know, they're very powerful Christian songs. And um, the room, the mood, it's all different. It's like the air is electrically charged. And I'm praying, and at this point, I am at the state where I'm just thinking, I'm like, God, please, I need you. I don't have anything left. My heart's broken by my people I love, my father, this girl, just my circumstances, the things that were going on at home. And I remember asking God for a fire to ignite me. I said, God, I want to be your warrior. I will do anything if you just prove to me that you're real. Please, I'll follow you anywhere. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I just begged and pleaded. And I can't remember who it was or what had happened. I don't know. Part of me's contemplated if this was an angel, but this girl I'd never seen before comes up. She's behind me, and my eyes are closed, my hands are up. I'm praying, and I'm just, this. I'm putting it all out there. I didn't care at this point. I'm raising my hands. I'm doing whatever I can to show God that I don't care about my circumstances or my appearances, because I was an extremely self-conscious person, and I didn't do things like that. I didn't want attention. And this girl comes and puts her hand on my shoulder, and it's just warm, like this warmth. And I thought she was saying something to me. She's whispering, and I'm like, I kind of lean over to, like, I'm trying to hear what she has to say, and I realize that she's talking gibberish at this point. I don't know if I've ever heard tongues at this point. I think I maybe have, and I've never bought it. I always just thought it was people that were desperate for attention. And she's speaking tongues. And I'm thinking, man, what the heck? I was like, is this person crazy? And then this warmth from her hand spreads through my body. And I start speaking in tongues. I start saying everything that this girl that has her hand on my shoulder, everything that she's saying, I'm saying simultaneously at the exact same time. And she's just going, and then all of us, it was like this beam, I don't know, this just it was the outpouring of Holy Spirit. Just this, I just remember this like feeling deep in my gut, my chest, and it was just this powerful uplifting. It was like this uplifting of this something coming out of me, this weight. And then she lets go of me, and then it's like a wild goes. I'm speaking uncontrollably, and I'm gasping in between the words. So I'm speaking in tongues, and then I go back into it, and then I'm bawling, just tears going down my face, just going into it, and then and I start getting scared. I start, as it's going on, all this just love, this pure feeling is overcoming me, and this weight is slowly, this huge weight is slowly coming off of my shoulders, and the girl disappears. I looked. I could not find this girl that laid hands on me and prayed over me, with me. I didn't see her on the buses home. I don't know. And now in my memory, I can't remember what she looks like. I can remember how it felt. I can remember everything about that day, but I cannot remember what she looked like. And I'm going, and so I go to my assigned youth pastor, and he was a senior in high school at the time, and he was awesome. I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, Isaac, just tongues, just speaking. I don't know what's going on. It's just tongues. What's going on with me? And I'm just bawling. And at first, I think he was a little shook, and then because he didn't quite understand what was going on, and then I'm like, I could get in a couple words here and there, and I'm like, something's happening to me, and I'm just like keep speaking in tongues, and then I think he understands, because then he just starts crying, and I wasn't super close with this guy, but he puts both his hands on my shoulders, and he's like, Keegan, I'm gonna pray for you. He's like, bro, you have no idea how awesome this is. How he's like, God, this is God. He's like, God is speaking to you right now. He's like, he is showing you his presence. He's like, this is awesome. And I'm still going in tongues. I mean, I cannot stop. I I did this for I don't know how long. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna put annulment oil on your head, and he does it, and he keeps praying, and he tells me, and he's like, okay, don't let this quit. He's like, keep going, keep going. You keep focusing, doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing, just keep focusing on Christ. And he goes and sits me in a corner. And I can't, there's no explanation to this besides God. There is nothing that you can't convince me that it was anything else. I mean, and from that moment, it slowly came down. I slowly stopped, like just, and I I was happy. Like I think this was the first time I ever experienced like peace, and like kind of like other Christian born again Christians talk about, like the world looked different. I I felt like I could finally see. I remember thinking about how everything didn't seem as dark as it was before, and how it's like the world was breathing. It was like everything was breathing, and I felt connected. I felt connected to people, and I could see darkness in people. Like I could see these dark clouds following people. There's just like this stuff that would be following people, and then I could see it in their eyes. I don't. There's not really any explanation for it. And it went on like that. So the trip finished. We went home, and we went to school. And I mean, I wasn't the only one that was born again that night. It was powerful. I mean, other people were speaking in tongues. There was so much stuff happening, but I didn't get to absorb it all because I was having my own born again. And I just remember a group of us came back, and we started a church club, and we were made fun of. And I remember just thinking, I was like, all these people are missing their light. They don't have the light that they need. That light was Jesus Christ. And so we did that, and sadly to say, slowly over time, our group slowly dissolved. I was like 14 or 15 when I was first experienced the Holy Spirit, and some of us lasted longer. And I wish I could say that I lasted longer, but I started to drift away. Um, I ended up having premarital sex, and then so my heart was broken. So I think I got my story mixed up a little bit, but that happened after. That happened like right after this. And so then I was angry, and then I fell in with the wrong crowd. I started drinking, and I always swore to myself I would never start drinking because of the things that it made my dad do. And I did. And I loved the way it made me feel, because it made me feel numb. And I just started drifting away from Christ. And I mean, that fire, because of the things that I did, it went out. I never lost my testimony, and I never quit believing in God, but I quit doing what I was supposed to. I quit following His commandments. I quit listening to Him. I started sinning again, And years go by, high school ends, and I am deep, deep in the drink. Um, I go to college for like a year and I drop out because all I want to do is drink. Um, I get my first job and I hate it. I worked at a grocery store. I hated it. People were so cruel. And I would just go home and drown my worries away in the bottle every night. And it got to the point where I was dying. Alcohol was killing me. I was having horrible health issues. I was probably 30 or 40 pounds more overweight than I am now. And I'm not skinny. And I started having issues with my heart and blood pressure. I was in hypertension 1 as a 21-year-old young man. That's the doctor straight up told me there's no reason for you to be in hypertension 1. You're at severe heart risk. And then began the 3 or 4 years that I tried to quit drinking. And it would only stick for a week, 2 weeks, a month. And I was so sucked into alcohol that I would throw a fit like a child if I couldn't get alcohol. That's how dependent my mind and body had grown upon it. And I was drinking like a 750 milliliter bottle a night, sometimes more, like absurd amount of alcohol. I'm sure there was a few times that I thought I was going to die. I swore I was never going to do it again, but I did. And then a year, 7 months ago, I'd been trying to quit. I'd been praying on it. I was trying to find my way back to God, but I was so blind and so consumed by darkness that it was almost impossible. And then God pierced that light and he showed me that it wasn't impossible. At least that was my thought process at the time. And it was January 1st, 2020. I woke up. I drank a little bit. I'd been on a binge like 3 or 4 nights before, so I would do that. I would binge drink and then slowly get sober and then drink a little bit more. So at this point in time, though, I was sick of it. I think I'd finally got to the point where I was ready to quit in my mind. My body was so dependent on it. And I woke up in the early in the morning. I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just woke, like I was sound asleep, and all of a sudden I heard, "Wake up." It's just that calm but loud voice. And I woke up and it said, "Now, my son, it's time to pray." And I did. I prayed. I prayed like I did many times, but this time I knew something was different. I could feel it. And I heard God. He said, "I'm going to take this away from you, this affliction." But he said, that doesn't mean it's going to stop you from drinking. He said, "No, I'm going to take away this dependence, these chains." And he said, "That rest is up to you." And like that first night where I was filled with the Holy Spirit, I just felt this weight lift. And I kid you not, from that moment forward, I have not had a sip of alcohol. I haven't had a desire. I've had zero desire to drink. Absolutely none. And coming from where I came from, it was all consuming every waking moment of my life. One second. It was a miracle. I mean, even going back to where I was in the darkest place in my mind. I don't think I could have quit without him. And now I'm going on a year and 7 months, 8 months and 5 days. 6 days. I'll be sober for 1 year and 8 months, and I haven't looked back. And the reason why I'm telling you why I feel like I needed to do this is because I was delivered today, and I'm probably gonna I might post this alongside the other video I did. But I found a YouTuber named Isaiah Sandoval. So, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering your name, but I I listened to a deliverance prayer, and I I started manifesting. I felt the spirits come out of me. I spoke with a demonic voice, and then since 10 years from the moment that I spoke tongues again. So today's the first day that I don't feel this darkness and like that darkness in my mind. I feel calm, and I know God's been putting on this on my heart for a long time. And I don't do things like this because I'm a pretty self-conscious person. I don't speak to crowds. I'm very socially awkward, and I'm an introvert. But he's been putting on my heart to do this, so I don't know who this is going to reach or where even I'm going to post it. But if you do see this, God's real. Jesus Christ is real, and he loves you so much, and you have no idea the power that he has to pull you out of this darkness that's in your mind and surrounding you. He's the only one that can do it. Nothing is impossible to Jesus. Anyways, thanks for listening.